No one on campus said his name casually. Ethan Blackwood. People either whispered it or avoided it entirely. He was the kind of man everyone noticed before they even realized it. Tall, sharp-eyed, always composed like the world existed just to stay out of his way. Top of the class, student council president, untouchable reputation. And above all, an enigma in a world where dynamics shaped everything. Alphas leading, betas blending in, and omega surviving. Enigma stood outside the system. Rare, powerful, unpredictable. And Ethan? He hated omegas. Not in a loud, cruel way some alphas did. No, his hatred was colder, quieter, more precise. He didn't insult them, didn't bully them. He simply made them feel like they didn't exist. And somehow that hurt more. My name is Noah Carter. Second-year literature student. Omega. Invisible. That's how I liked it. No drama. No attention. No expectations. Just classes, library shifts, and going home before sunset. In a place like this, staying unnoticed wasn't weakness. It was survival. But survival doesn't always go as planned. It started on a rainy afternoon. I was late for my part-time shift at the campus library, clutching my books as I rushed across the courtyard. The ground was slick, my shoes soaked, and my mind was somewhere between panic and exhaustion. That's when it happened. I collided with someone. Hard. Books fell. Papers scattered. And for a moment, everything went silent. I looked up and immediately wished I hadn't. Ethan Blackwood. His sharp gaze locked onto mine, cold and unreadable. Rain slid down his dark hair, his posture still perfectly straight despite the impact. I'm sorry, I stammered, quickly kneeling to gather my papers. He didn't move to help, didn't say anything, just watched. That silence, it pressed down on me harder than any insult could. I didn't see you, I added quietly, avoiding his eyes. A pause. Then finally, you should learn to look where you're going. His voice was calm, controlled, but there was something underneath it, something sharp. I nodded quickly. Yes. I gathered the last of my things and stood, ready to leave. Wait. My body froze. I turned slowly. His eyes had shifted not softer, but more focused, like he was studying me. You're sent, he said, almost himself. You're an omega. It wasn't a question. I felt my throat tighten. Yes. Another silence. Then something unexpected. A small step forward. Too close. My heartbeat stuttered as his presence pressed into my space. Enigmas didn't release pheromones like alphas, but there was something about him, something overwhelming, something dangerous. You don't act like one, he murmured. I just keep to myself, I replied, barely audible. His gaze lingered on me for a moment longer. Then he stepped back. Try not to run into people again. And just like that, he walked away, leaving me standing there, drenched in rain, my chest tight for reasons I didn't understand. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. The next day, whispers started. They say Ethan Blackwood spoke to an omega yesterday. No way. I heard he looked interested. That's impossible. I kept my head down, ignored it. Rumors spread fast on campus, but they died just as quickly. Or at least they were supposed to. 3 days later, I saw him again. Library. Of all places. I was organizing return books when I felt it. That same quiet pressure, like the air itself had shifted. I looked up, and there he was, standing at the end of the aisle, watching me. My hands stilled. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then he walked toward me, each step deliberate, measured. You work here, he asked. Yes. Convenient. I blinked. For me. Before I could respond, he placed a book on the counter. Check this out. I reached for it, my fingers brushing against the cover. And then his hand moved, not to take the book, but to lightly grab my wrist. I froze. The contact was brief, but it sent something strange to me, a sharp, unfamiliar warmth that made my chest tighten. His grip wasn't rough, but it wasn't gentle either. It was intentional. Don't avoid me, he said quietly. My eyes widened. I wasn't. You were? His gaze locked onto mine. And I don't like being ignored. I swallowed hard. I didn't mean to. Good. He released my wrist, just like that, as if nothing had happened, as if my pulse wasn't racing, as if the world hadn't just tilted slightly off balance. See you around, Noah. My name. He said my name. I don't remember telling him. From that day on, everything changed. He started appearing everywhere. Library, hallways, cafeteria, always at a distance, always watching. Not enough to draw attention, but enough that I noticed. Enough that I couldn't ignore it anymore. And then the whispers turned into something else. Jealousy, confusion, speculation. Why him? He's just an omega. Ethan Blackwood doesn't do things without a reason. Neither did I. And yet, I found myself thinking about him. More than I should. More than I wanted. It happened a week later. The moment everything broke. The student council was hosting an event. Mandatory attendance. Crowded. Loud. The kind of place I hated. I stayed near the edges, trying to disappear into the background. But fate had other plans. Enjoying yourself? I stiffened. That voice. I turned. Ethan, standing right behind me. Too close. Again. I don't like crowds. I admit it. I can tell. His eyes scanned the room briefly before returning to me. You look uncomfortable. I'm fine. You're not. His honesty caught me off guard. Before I could respond, a group of alphas nearby started laughing loudly, their eyes flicking toward us. Toward me. I recognized that look. Mockery. Judgment. I instinctively stepped back. But Ethan stepped forward, closing the distance, blocking their view. My breath caught. Stay, he said softly. I didn't understand why, but I did. And then it happened. Suddenly, without warning, without explanation, his hand lifted, cupped my face, and before I could react, he kissed me. It wasn't soft. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't even gentle. It was sharp, deliberate, a statement. My eyes widened in shock as my body froze completely. My mind went blank, unable to process what was happening. Around us, the room fell silent. Gasps, whispers, stares. Everyone was watching. And Ethan? He didn't care. After a few seconds that felt like forever, he pulled away, his expression unchanged. Cold, composed, like nothing had happened. But his next words, they shattered everything. Now they'll stop bothering you. I stared at him, my heart pounding, my chest tight with something I couldn't name. Why? I whispered. His gaze didn't soften, not even a little, because it's easier to let them think you're mine. A pause. Then to deal with their noise. Mine. The word echoed in my head. Not warm, not protective, possessive, calculated, like I was just the solution, not a person. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. Ethan Blackwood didn't kiss me because he liked me. He kissed me because it was convenient. And somehow, that hurt more than if he had hated me. But what I didn't know yet was that this convenience was about to change both of our lives forever. I didn't sleep that night. No matter how many times I closed my eyes, I could still feel it. That kiss, not the warmth of it, but the meaning behind it. Convenient. That's all I was to him. A shield, a distraction, a solution, not someone worth choosing. The next morning, the campus felt different. No, not the campus. Me. Every pair of eyes that landed on me now carried something new. Curiosity, envy, even fear. The whispers had changed. That's him. The Omega Ethan kiss. Are they together? Or is he just being used? That last one hit harder than it should have, because deep down, I already knew the answer. I tried to avoid him. Again. But avoiding Ethan Blackwood was like trying to avoid gravity. Impossible. 3 days later, he found me. Of course he did. Library. My safe place. Or at least it used to be. You're avoiding me again. I didn't look up from the book in my hands. I'm busy. A pause. Then the chair in front of me slid back. He sat down, uninvited, unbothered. You're upset. I'm not. You are. I clenched my jaw. Why does it matter? I finally said, looking up at him. His expression didn't change, but his eyes, they sharpened. Because your behavior affects me. That was it. That was the moment something inside me snapped. I stood up abruptly, my chair scraping against the floor. I'm not your problem to manage, I said, my voice shaking slightly. And I'm definitely not something you can just use when it's convenient. Silence. Heavy. Tense. For the first time, Ethan didn't immediately respond. I didn't ask for any of this. I continued, my chest tightening. You kissed me in front of everyone without even thinking about how it would affect me. Do you have any idea what that feels like? His gaze stayed on me, unmoving, but there was something there now, something unfamiliar. I solve a problem, he said finally. I laughed bitterly. For yourself. Another pause. Then, no. That single word caught me off guard. His voice was quieter now, less sharp. They were targeting you, he said. I removed that variable. I didn't ask you to. You didn't have to. That's not how it works. My voice rose before I could stop it. A few people glanced over. I lowered it quickly. You don't get to decide things for me, I said more quietly now. I'm not yours. That word again. Yours. Something flickered in his expression. Gone in an instant. I know, he said. And for the first time since I'd met him, he sounded unsure. That should have been the end of it. It should have been. But life doesn't follow should. A week passed. Then, too, Ethan stopped approaching me, stopped watching me, stopped existing in my space. And somehow, that felt worse. I told myself I didn't care, that I was finally free, that things were back to normal. But normal didn't feel the same anymore. The silence he left behind was louder than his presence ever was. Then one evening, everything changed again. I was walking back from the library when I heard it. Voices, angry, sharp, coming from behind the old campus building. I shouldn't have gone closer, but I did, and what I saw made my blood run cold. Ethan, cornered by 3 alphas, not students I recognized, older, stronger, dangerous. You think you're above everything, don't you? One of them sneered. Ethan stood still, unmoving, but even from a distance, I could feel it. Tension. You've been interfering where you shouldn't. Another said, protecting Omegas now? That's not like you. My heart skipped. Protecting me? I don't interfere, Ethan replied calmly. Then what was that stunt? The first alpha snapped. Kissing that Omega in public? Silence. Then, he's irrelevant. The words hit me like a slap. I should have walked away. I should have left. But my feet wouldn't move. Doesn't look irrelevant to us. The third alpha said, stepping closer. Looks like a weakness. And then, everything happened too fast. A shove, a punch. Ethan staggered slightly, but didn't fall. He didn't fight back. Didn't even raise his hands. Stop. I shouted before I could think. All 3 turned, their eyes landing on me. And suddenly, I was a target. Well, look who it is, one of them smirked. The Omega. Fear gripped me, but I didn't step back. You should leave, Ethan said quietly. I looked at him. There was something in his eyes now. Urgency. Concern. For me. No, I said, my voice trembling but firm. The alphas laughed. This is getting interesting. One of them stepped toward me, and before I could react, Ethan moved. Fast. He grabbed the alpha's wrist midair, his grip tight. Don't, he said. For the first time, there was emotion in his voice. Not anger, not arrogance. Something deeper, something real. The air shifted. Tension snapped. The alphas hesitated. Then one of them scoffed. Not worth it, he muttered. Let's go. Just like that, they left. Silence returned. Heavy, breathless. I looked at Ethan. You could have gotten hurt, I said. So could you. That's different. No. He stepped closer. Not intimidating this time. Not overwhelming. Just close. It's not. I frowned. Why didn't you fight back? I don't fight pointless battles. And getting hit is better? If it avoids escalation. I shook my head. You don't make sense. A small pause. Then, I'm trying to. Those words, they didn't sound like him. Not the Ethan I knew. I lied. I blinked. What? Earlier, he said. When I said you were irrelevant. My chest tightened. I know why you said it. No, he said. You don't. Another step closer. His voice dropped slightly. I said it because if they thought you mattered... A pause. They would have used you against me. My breath caught, and I won't allow that. The world seemed to still. Everything suddenly clearer. You protected me. I whispered. I made a choice. Why? That question, it hung between us. Heavy, important, and for the first time since I met him, Ethan hesitated, not out of arrogance, but because he didn't have an easy answer. I don't know, he admitted quietly. Honest, raw, real, and somehow that meant more than anything else. Weeks passed. Slowly, things changed, not all at once, not dramatically, but in small ways. Ethan started showing up again, not watching, not controlling, just being there. Sometimes we talked, sometimes we didn't, but the silence between us was different now. Comfortable. You're still bad at looking where you're going. I rolled my eyes, and you're still annoying. A rare thing happened then. Ethan smiled, just slightly, but enough. I'm not yours, I said one day. I know. I never will be. Another pause. Then, I don't want you to be. I looked at him, surprised. What do you want then? He met my gaze. Steady, certain. You, not possession, not control, just me. And for the first time, I didn't feel like something convenient. I felt chosen. Months later, everything felt lighter, easier, real. Life wasn't perfect, but it was honest, and that was enough. One evening, as we walked across the same courtyard where everything began, I stopped. Do you regret it? I asked. The kiss? Yes. He thought for a moment, then shook his head. No, even if it started for the wrong reason. He looked at me, and this time there was no distance, no walls. No, he said, because it led me here. I smiled softly. Good. Because sometimes the worst beginnings lead to the most unexpected endings. And this time, it wasn't about convenience. It was about choice. And he chose me,